Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
Hello, sport. So you want to learn Warden, huh? Oh, but you don't think you're good. Well, I think we're all trash to some degree. But no worries. If you actually want to learn Warden, and not just because of the memes, I'll be going over all the knowledge that I've accumulated over my For Honor career. With that being said, let's get started. Okay, so let's break down a few things about Warden before we get into the actual video. Warden's description says adaptable and straightforward. Adaptable is a more justifiable word when it comes to explaining Warden. He has many flaws and quirks that you can use to your advantage, turning your weaknesses into a trap for others. The three key points that you need to know and need to focus on is these: reactability, adaptability, and counterattacking. The vortex comes into play later on when you can get an opponent on edge. When you've done this, you have won the mental mind game. Note that this character is only for the most disciplined few. Hello, beginner. For starters, I'm going to show you all the stuff that you can get punished for. For starters, if you block a zone from a Warden, you get a free GB off Warden. So throwing that zone out is kind of risky. Also, if you miss a shoulder bash and they dodge, they can get a free guard break off you. This is also the same if you charge up the shoulder bash and miss it. If you miss one of your lights, they can guard break you off of that, so be careful. This is also the same when feinting your shoulder bash. If you miss any of your heavies as shown here, you can get guard broken. So it is kind of wise to throw out a second one. If you miss a running attack, this also makes you vulnerable in a few frames. They can guard break you after this, so be careful of throwing that running attack out. Although it's very seldom that they do it, just be wary of it. There's also something you need to know pairing Warden's Zone. It's impractical and unsafe. The more you do it, it's just mainly for style points, and it's more efficient just to block it and get the free guard break. Now that you know how to get punished with Warden, let's start with the main moveset. Warden's side lights are his slowest lights in all of his kit. But if you hit one of them, you can get a second one for free. So note this when you're doing a lot of your combos. Warden has a 2-string heavy combo in his set. He can do any heavy from any side, but his top heavy is his most damaging. Now, let's talk about the Warden's Vortex. To perform a Vortex, you must simply start with a shoulder bash. To start with the shoulder bash, you must dash forward, right, or left. Press the guard break button once you do this. When you do this, you have two options. You can guard break, if they choose to dodge. When you guard break, you get a free heavy. But the second option is once you let the full shoulder bash let through, you can get 2 side lights on the right or the left. Once you do this, press the guard break button again to continue the vortex. In this state, they only have 2 ways of counterattacking. They can throw out a light or heavy, or they can roll away. So be noteworthy when you're doing the vortex, because if they roll away, it cancels out your vortex.
Did you know? The Warden has a health pool of 130 as his stamina sits at 120. Fun fact, Warden Zone has the ability to send your opponent off the ledge if it hits. Using the Come At Me feat within the Zone on Domination gives you the ×2 Rion.
When you start the shoulder bash and when you're going in for a side light combo, Right after, when you go in for another shoulder bash, it's optimal to grab your opponent. If there is a wall near you, throw them into the wall, and you get a free top heavy if your guard is already to the top. He has a running attack too. To perform this, you must run and press your heavy button while running towards your enemy. This attack has great tracking and as well as impressive lunge distance. The Warden has his own. To perform this, you must press the heavy and light button at the same time. But note, like I said earlier, if they guard this, it's a free GB, so use this sparingly. Sometimes people, when they see their health diminishing real fast, people will be really stubborn and just sit there and wait for you to end your vortex. So you have to read them and get a read on their playstyle. So note that for the future. Now let's talk about your crushing counter-strike. If someone attacks you from the top, right before it hits you, press your top light, and this will perform a successful crushing counter-strike. Once done, you can get a free guaranteed shoulder bash with a two-side light combo on the side. The next shoulder bash is not guaranteed, however, so it is safe to grab right after this one. Now let's talk about baiting a top heavy. So when you're going for a top heavy and then feinting it, a lot of people are going to be thinking you're throwing out a singular light. When you do this and they take the bait, they're going to go for a heavy. When they go for the heavy, go for your light. So what I mean by this is you're baiting your top heavy and then you're going successfully into a free light. You can also do a side light combo into a top heavy feint and then crushing their attempt if you want to take this a step further and get a little bit tricky. Noting that you can also feint your shoulder bash by doing a regular shoulder bash, but right when you do it, press the feint button, which will be possibly circle on PS4 and whatever platform you're using for the feint button. Use this to get a feel of what your opponent is going to do and get a feel of reading your opponent. When you can get a feel of what your opponent's going to do, safely pinpoint your shoulder bash into them and get your top lights on the side. When you're going against another Warden, feinting your shoulder bash can mix up the mind game potential, and you'll be playing them on an equal playing field. Also, when you're doing this and they let their shoulder bash fly out, you can punish their attempt by any means necessary. This is an important one, so listen up. If you parry any light that your enemy does, you get a free guaranteed top heavy. So also keep this in mind. Shimmying is a very common thing with Wardens. They like to pressure their opponent by switching their guard break in the direction where their zone will go. And then they like to switch back up for the top light. So use this to pressure your opponents and get them thinking that you're going to go for that zone. Oh boy, now let's talk about their heavy feint combo into zone. So what I mean by this is when you do a heavy feint on top and then you go straight to the zone, it's almost instant. So use this to your your advantage. If you want to take this a step further, go for your heavy feint on top, and then immediately go for a shoulder bash on the left or right. Lastly is his shoulder bash cancel into a crushing counter strike. If you can successfully do this, they will be scared to throw out anything, to be honest. This is a very useful tool when you have the reactions for it. Also note, when you're doing this and they attack you from the sides, be able to feint that shoulder bash into a parry.
Did you know the longer your execution, the more health you obtain? Warden's long distance. Warden has an advantage with his kit on characters such as Lawbringer, Orochi, and Shigoki. If Warden successfully lands a crushing counter-strike in duels, it has the ability to change the momentum of a game in your favor.
I will be very vague with these explanations, so try to keep up. Out of stamina escape. So to perform this effectively, what you're going to want to do is run away from your opponent, and before they close in on you, backdash and target onto them. This will create maximum distance if they're trying to guard break you or attack you. The fly trap. This move is great for catching pesky dashing assassins. So what you're going to want to do is feint your shoulder bash and immediately right after perform a zone. If done correctly, it'll come out almost instant. This one I like to call the Warden's coin flip, the 50-50. Yep, this is the infamous 50-50. So to perform this, what you're going to want to do is run towards your opponent and either stop and do a zone or continue with the running attack. If you get a feel that they're going to just block your running attack, do the zone instead. But be careful because the zone is more dangerous to do, and if they block it, they get a free GB. The reverse vortex. This one's a little complex to explain, but I will try to put it in simple terms. You must have your camera sensitivity all the way up to perform this feat. What you must do is run away while your camera is turned behind you and then lock on while you're out of the target's range so it won't snap back and target them. You press the dash button while you're in target mode, not targeting them, and then once you do this, shoulder bash, release, and then target back onto the character to perform a successful reverse vortex. The reverse grab vortex. This is another form of the reverse vortex, but instead, when you're about to hit them, you're going to grab them instead. The reverse fly trap. Like I said earlier, this is another form of the reverse vortex, but instead you're going to go for a cancel for the shoulder bash into the zone. This will automatically target back onto them so it wraps around almost instantly. Lingering R1s. These are great for pressuring opponents when they run towards you, and they can cancel out anyone that tried to do a run attack towards you. So how to do this is you let your R1 fly out a little bit early, like kind of mid-distance when they're about to get to you, and if successfully done, you're going to trap them and hit them before they even have a chance to touch you. Roll GBs. These are pretty neat. If you roll into an opponent and they try to grab you, if you time it correctly, you can get back up and grab them, giving you a free R2. Out of stamina max punishes. This is your max out of stamina punish. What you have to do is get someone near the wall and throw them to the ground. When you do this, immediately have your guard to the right or left. Go for the heavy to the right or left and then follow up with a top heavy. When you do this, you're going to be able to get 2 heavies off. Also, there's an alternative way to do this. When they're out of stamina and they're throwing lights at you, parry their light and then go for the same combo. Quick snap R1s. One of my favorite things to do in neutral against assassin classes because they can hardly predict this when it happens. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to turn away from your opponent and then R1. Full shoulder bash tips. So lastly, the biggest tip I can give you when playing Warden is if someone comes at you with a full shoulder bash cancel or a full shoulder bash charge, immediately dodge and then you get a free shoulder bash level 2 for free and get a top heavy.
If you face a conqueror, feint your shoulder bash, dodge, and shoot. shoulder into a guard break. The initial shoulder blast will make them dodge, giving you a successful guard break. When playing against Creator, advanced guard breaks can be very effective. If you're fast enough, you can even land a crushing counter-strike. Thank you to everyone who has watched this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. The creators behind this video put an enormous amount of effort into it, so it would mean the world to them. They are listed here. Also, if you'd like to join OmniSouls, use the link below to join the brigade.